mechaven l'shem shamayim. Right, with all his daigas and with all your yoga, and you should have kavanah l'shem shamayim. Right? Yeah. Okay, so that's what it's saying. The mashkiach already clearly wants us to start the daf, so we're going to start the daf. Yeah, so that's what it is. That he's saying.
Yeah, again, that's good because he has to drive home. It looks like.
That's right. So the bottom line is that if daiga and yoga on behalf of Hashem or on behalf of yourself, but l'shem Hashem is a good thing to have. The other daiga is not a good thing to have. Okay, so now we're continuing in the sugya of kohanim and how do you prove that a kohen is a kohen, right? So Toshima, right? We got up to Toshima, about 15 lines down on Chafei Amud Aleph. Yeah. So Toshima, chazaka l'kahuna. Right. So what's a chazaka? Rashi says what the Gemara means by this is what kind of edus can you say that says that a person will be considered a kohen? So the siyas kapayim bebavel. If they do duchaning in Bavel, right? Now why dafka Bavel? Because in Bavel they had batei din for these things. So in Bavel, if the guy passed the muster of the Bavel, the batei din in Bavel, so that means he's trustworthy. V'achilas chalah b'Surya, and eating chalah in Surya. So Surya was, Rashi says it's aram tzoiva, right? That was kibush. That was David's when David was kibush Surya, expanding Eretz Yisrael, and then they attached it, they annexed it, as they call it, right? What do they call those things? Occupied territories, right? They made it into occupied territories. So this Tana, Rashi says, is called. He holds that kibush yachid is shmei kibush, meaning if a yachid decides to annex parts of Eretz Yisrael, then that's considered annexed, right? And the chalah and the terumah there is derabanan. Yeah, so now the Gemara is thinking that so if a kohen in Syria is eating chalah, so then that must mean he's a legitimate kohen. The chiluk matanis bekrachin, and giving out matnes kahuna. Matnes kahuna again is the front leg, the right leg, and the face, and the stomachs. Right, so that's all goes to it. Yeah. So katani, yeah. Katani mias the siyas kapayim. So whatever it is, you see from this, then the siyas kapayim is one of the proofs. The siyas kapayim is one of the proofs that you can marry, that you're not can marry, that you have a kohen. My lovely yochsin isn't this for yochsin, that the kohen is considered a meyuchas, which again, just to rechaza, we said that for a kohen to be believed to eat terumah is one thing, but for a kohen to be believed for yichus, that's already much more chomer, much more difficult, because we want to make sure Klal Yisrael stays meyuchas. So my lovely yochsin is enough for yochsin. So the answer is loyla terumah. No, it just means he's allowed to eat terumah, but it does not mean we're making him to meyuchas. But the Gemara asks, well, achilas chalah katani. It says that it's similar to achilas chalah. Malach ma achilas chalah the yochsin, just like achilas chalah for yochsin. Meaning, if somebody eats chalah, the kohen eats chalah, then we say that that's strong enough to allow him to be considered meyuchas. After siyas kapayim leyochsin, so too duchaning is also for yochsin. So we say no. Like achilas chalah gufa letruma. Achilas chalah is only let the kohen eat truma. Why? Because kasavar chalah is manazeh derabanan. He holds that chalah is manazeh derabanan. Utruma dioyraysa, and truma is dioyraysa. Again, what chalah is what we know. We call our freshest chalah. What everybody's into nowadays. Right? To be mafresh chalah, make the bracha. 40 days, 40 people. All sorts of stuff that people are doing, right? So that chalah is, I don't know if you should say that to the women, but freshest chalah is manazeh the derabanan, right? It's not a derabanan, right? Which we'll see by why that is, right? Utruma is derabanan. Maskinon mechala derabanan l'truma derabanan. So basically, what the chiddush is that we're going to say that chalah, which is a derabanan. Yes, so we're going to say that if the kohen is eating chalah derabanan, then he could eat terumah derabanan. Right? And the way Rav Huna Brady Yeshua answered, well, they changed the derabanan, which the Gemara is going to discuss in a few minutes. Okay, so that's what we're saying. So bottom line is we don't have a proof that duchaning, if a kohen duchans, that proves him to be a kohen. Right? We can't take it to the bank that he's a kohen. So Tashima Chazaka lekahuna nesiyas kapayim. So to make somebody as a chazaka for the kahuna, he needs the duchen, the chila granis beretz Yisrael, and giving out by the granis, by the guidance. What?
I just thought the Gemara just said we're talking about Bisman Hazeh.
Correct.
So what more do we want? To be Malo Liyuchsen?
What
do we want to call him a kohen for? What's in the Geya to?
What do you mean, what's in the Geya?
He said it's not Liyuchsen, it's the terumah. And if it was Liyuchsen, what's the difference? It's Bisman Hazeh. We're not doing avodah.
No, we still want the kohen to be marrying somebody with yichus. No?
It only limits him. Certain women he can't marry. It's only a limiter.
It's only a what?
It limits him. There's certain women he cannot marry. So
right.
We're not mala him because we want him to be able to marry more women. What's the difference?
You're asking what's the practical nafkamina bisman hazeh? Is that what you're saying?
Yeah.
No, I thought yichus even applies bisman hazeh too. No.
The what? For the Indian ma?
The Indian, you want to make sure that the kohen marries only somebody meyuchas. No, to keep the yichus, to keep the yichus going.
That just limits him. So let him call himself a kohen. So certain women he can't marry.
But that's what we're saying. There's not. All right.
If he's metamet mates,
no.
Also, so there's something he can't do.
We would still tell him not to be metamet to a mace. Right? I hear. Okay, I don't know. I thought there's still something to the yichus. Okay, so Tashima, Chazaka lekahuna. So doing duchaning and giving out, meaning if the kohen gets, the trumas and maestros by the geirin, by the not the farms, what's it called? By the granaries, whatever that is. Meaning by the silos.
A granary.
So that's like what? That's silos, right? That's where they give out the food. Yeah.
Yes.
So Upasurya, Upachol Makam Shushucha Rosh Chodesh Magian, and in Surya, and wherever the Edom get to, when they go out to tell everybody when Rosh Chodesh is, right? Which is a 15-day traveling, right? That's what Rashi says. So Nesiyas Kapayim.
How do they know he's a kohen? Maybe he's an evid of a kohen. He went to pick up the package. How do they know he's a kohen?
Did we say before in Yevamis, right? We said they didn't even let the wives get it. Right? In Yevamis, we said they don't even give it to the wives, but they give it to the
wives. They didn't let go there for a reason.
Right. Did we say anything about avodim in the Yevamis?
No.
It's I don't remember. We said anything about avodim in Yevamis. I'm not sure. Anyways, so the Nesiyas Kapayim raya avaloi chilek granis. So the Nesiyas Kapayim is a raya, but not chilek granis, right? Ubavel, I'm sorry, Surya, and Bavel is like Surya, right? So therefore, meaning it that they looked into the kohanim. Even Alexandria of Mitzrayim, meaning Barishayna in the beginning, that also was good enough. Nesha Bezdin Kahuan Sham, that they had a Bezdin there. Meaning basically what the Bryce is saying is that any place that had but they didn't, that would make sure that the kohanim were legit, so then you could trust them. So what are we saying? Katani is Nesiyas Kapayim. But it says Nesiyas Kapayim. My love, the Yochanan doesn't mean that Nesiyas Kapayim works for Yichus. So we say Loi L'Chala. It only works in order to be able to give the kohen chalah. Hadumya, right? The Chilek Granis Katani. But it says it's similar to chilagranas. Ma chilagranas liyosin. If a kohen gets the food by the silos, he's considered an automatic miyuchas dika kohen. After siyas kapayim liyosin, so too, siyas kapayim should be for yuchsin. So we say loy chilagranas gufa lechala. The chilagranas only works to allow the kohen to be given the chalah. Because he holds that terumah nowadays is derabanan. The chalah deoyraysa, and chalah is the derabanan. Umaskinan terumah derabanan, the chalah deoyraysa, and we upgrade. Maskinan means from to go up. We use this yichus to at least allow him to go from terumah to eating chalah. How? What is this talking about? This is the Gemara was referring to before, and like Rav Huna Breder Yeshua said to the Rabbanan, like he found, like with the Rabbanan, Dam Rav Huna Breder Rav Yeshua Ashkechdinu the Rabbanan of Bei Rav the Yasvi Gami. I found the Rabbanan of Bei Rav. They were sitting and they were saying, "Afilu leman damar chum b'zmanazeh the Rabbanan." Even according to the man damar that says the chuma b'zmanazeh the Rabbanan, chalah derabanan, but chalah is derabanan. Why? There were 7 years that they spent conquering Eretz Yisrael, and then they spent another 7 years splitting it up. So Nischayev b'chala, those years they were chayev in chala, right? So, but they were not yet chayev in truma because they didn't yet conquer the land, right? Because Rashi says Nischayev b'chala because the pasuk says b'vayachem ela aretz. That when you come into Eretz Yisrael, so that's when you're chayiv to give chalah. But they were not chayiv in Trumas and Maisras, right? Because it says, Rashi says another aliya from the pasuk. Yeah? V'amina lo anon. I told him, Adarabba, it's the opposite. Afilu leman damar truma bizman hazeh derabanan. Even according to man damar that says truma bizman hazeh is derabanan, chalah derabanan, but chalah bizman hazeh is derabanan. Why? The Tanya, and this is the way we paskin. When you come into the land, if it means bayachem, when you come in, maybe you have to start giving chalah even when 2 or 3 of the meraglim came in. Only when all of you live in Eretz Yisrael, that's when chalah is. And not when there's only some of them. Right? So Memela, the Hafrashas Chalah is only a mitzvah derabanan when the majority of Yidden live in Eretz Yisrael, which unfortunately they don't. Ezra, and when Ezra went up from Babel to Eretz Yisrael, Lav Kulu Salak, not everybody went up. So therefore, right, Rashi says Ruba Nishru, the majority of Yidden stayed in Babel. Right? So therefore, chalah was potter. Potter derabanan, but chayiv derabanan. Right, and this is the way we paskin, and it does have practical halachic ramifications that chalah b'zman hazeh is derabanan, at least in chutz la'aretz, right? Because let's say Friday night you realize that you did not take off chalah from the challahs. Believe it or not, it does happen. I'm not gonna say it happens often, but it happens. So what do? Right? What you do is you eat the chalah, but you leave over a piece till after Shabbos, and then after Shabbos you take off the chalah. Right? So you could do that because chalah and chutz la'aretz is a derabanan. Right?
What do you mean you take off the chalah after Shabbos?
You have to do afrashas chalah from it.
So I'm saying you have a chalah. What do? You
just eat the chalah like regular, but you leave over a piece
for afrashas chalah.
No, you leave over a piece, and from that piece, you do afrashas chalah. Right? Now, that only works, meaning you're being mayachid in your head. You're not actually taking off the chalah because you're not allowed to do that on Shabbos because that's tikkun. Right? You're fixing the food.
For after Shabbos?
Then burn it?
That's why you keep saying leave over challah opposed to take a slice and put it aside?
Correct. You leave over a piece, and then from that piece, Matzah Shabbos, you take off another. You take off a piece from that piece.
Is being made for after Shabbos?
No, you're fixing your food on Shabbos. If you would take off the actual piece, like Yeshua just said, right, then you're actually doing a freshest chalah on Shabbos, which you can't do. So this whole thing only works though in derabanan. It will not work if it's a derabanan.
Sure, you could start a new ceremony after the Havdalah. You could have a versus chalah ceremony. You have people singing and everything,
And you can make it into a skula, and you can mamash be.
Giving out Shirayim at Havdalah. I like
That's
that.
right. Yeah.
You can have
Anyways.
Hamas chalah also. Let's have another fundraiser.
We haven't traded him around for a few days.
That's why Rebbi keeps asking questions also. You understand? He wants to get it right in there.
Yeah. Anyway, that's the practical to take with this. Anyway, so Tashima, top line. Anama base. Chazaka lekahuna. What's a chazaka lekahuna? Nesiyas kapayim v'chilik gronas ve'edus. To make a chazaka for kahuna, either duchaning or giving out the gronas, that the kohen could go to the geirin, to the silos, and get his food, and edus, meaning edus that a guy, Rashi says him, Adam come and say he's a kohen because they knew his parents. So Gemara says edus chazakahi. Edus is a chazaka, right? Edus is more, right? That's not just chazaka. Meaning normally chazaka is that we don't know for sure. We're just going to go on the chazaka. But edus is not chazaka. Edus is much stronger than chazaka. Elalav hachikam. This is what it's saying. Nesiyas kapayim ki edus. Nesiyas kapayim is like edus. Ma edus liyosin af nesiyas kapayim liyosin. Just like edus is for yosin, so nesiyas kapayim is for yosin. So you see that nesiyas kapayim does work for yosin. So Gemara says, "Loi edus haba mikoyach chazaka ki chazaka." What it meant is not actual edus. What it is that Bezdin hears edus from two guys, right? So, the way Rashi says it is the edus gets accepted in the Bezdin, and then Bezdin says, based on that edus, that the kohen could eat terumah, right? As if Bezdin actually knew and saw that this guy is a kohen, right? So that's really more of a chazak, because that's once removed. It's Bezdin saying that they know from other edim that this guy is a kohen. What is this? Kiyahu, there was this guy that came in front of Rav. Amar lei, so he said, I know that this guy is a kohen. Amar lei, Mari, so what do you see that you know he's a kohen? Amar lei, Shekara Rishon Beis HaKnesses. I saw that he was called first in the Beis HaKnesses. Becheskas Shu kohen, I becheskas Shu gadol. So he asked him back 1 second. Just because you saw the guy get the first aliyah, maybe because the Ikar Adin is back then is he had a kohen Amoritz and a Yisrael Talmud Chacham. The Yisrael Talmud Chacham got kohen. Not like we do nowadays. We give him shlishi, right, or shishi, right. Back then, if there was a big rabbi, they used to give him kohen. So he's saying, "What's your proof?" The guy comes to the message and says, "I saw him get the first aliyah. It must be a kohen." What's your proof? Maybe he was a gadol. How do you know he wasn't a gadol? So the Gemara says, "No, I know Shekara Acharav Levi because they called a Levi after him." So, meaning what is that? Like as we all know, right? When there's no kohen in the shul, and you give kohen to a Yisrael, you cannot give Levi to a Levi.
Even if they gave it to a gadol?
Even if it's a gadol, yes. Because then we say the whole order is messed up, and then we're done with it. Yeah. So, meaning if you give kohen to a Levi, then you can give a Levi, right? But if you don't give the kohen to a Levi, if you give it stam to Yisrael, then you cannot give a Levi. That's a mistake that a lot of shuls make. I know a lot of shuls, but people make that mistake. When there's no kohen, they think they call up Yisrael and then they give the Levi to a Levi. No, you don't do that, right? So that's what the guy was saying here. He's saying, no, I know that they called up a Levi as a Levi. So if they called a Levi for Levi, that means that this guy must have been a kohen. Because if he was a Yisrael, they wouldn't call up a Levi. And based on this, and Ravami Paskin, that this guy's a kohen based on this. Right? Fine. So then the Gemara continues with another story. Levi. He came from Rebbi Levi. I have a chazaka, this guy's a Levi. So Amar Levi, he said to him, Mari Isa, what did you see? Amar Levi, they called him up as the second aliyah. No, maybe it's the same question he had. maybe he was a Levi, maybe he's a Gadol. Right? Meaning, how do you know that maybe there was no Levi in the shul? Right? Even though nowadays, if it was a kohen, we give the kohen the aliya again. Right? But that's not what he was going with. Shakara lefanav kohen. So he says, no, there was a kohen before him. But Rebbi Shua ben Levi, the Levi alpiv. And Rebbi Shua ben Levi made him a Levi based on that. Right? Yeah, fine. So that's those were proofs, really based on an Eid Echad. So I mentioned it last week. This guy with the Pidyon Ben Shiloh with the Levi, he actually brought it up today, Mamish. He says now the story changed. Again, this guy's Shiloh is whether his wife is a Bas Levi, so he doesn't have to do a Pidyon Ben. So now he said the story changed, that there was a get together of Holocaust survivors, and at the convention, a guy went over to this guy's grandfather and said, I remember your father used to get called up as Levi in shul. You can't make it up. That the guy texted today. I said, by the way, do you realize that your Shiloh is today's daf? Right? The guy had no idea. So he said the guy went to his grandfather and said, your father used to get called up as Levi, even though on the tombstone it doesn't say. So they went to Rav Moshe Feinstein, and Rav Moshe Feinstein said, he just said, okay, so if the guy said they called him up as a Levi, so he's a Levi. Don't do a Pidyon Ben. Right? That was the story. So two little kids today were learning the Daf Yomi, listening to Rabbi Stefanski on the porch. So I called them over. I said, hey, and I showed him the Shiloh, and I said, no, what do you say? He said, yeah, the guy's a Levi, right? Based on today's Gemara, the guy's a Levi. Right? What's a Shiloh? They didn't hear the Shiloh even, so I don't know what this guy was hacking me at China. Right? But he said some of his brothers-in-law asked the Shiloh. They said, do it me Suffolk. I told him, do me a favor. I said, if you're going to do a Pidyon of Emi Suffolk, L'Kavod Ramosha, do it inside a room and nobody knows about it other than you and the kohen. Right? So, whatever. But anyways, fine. So we continue. There's a guy that came in front of Rish Lakish. I know that this guy's a kohen. So what do you see that he's a kohen? They called him up first. They said to him, did you see him get the terumah by the silos? Did you see them giving him terumah by the silos? What kind of question is that? And let's say the guy's not a farmer. Let's say he works in the city and he never goes to the silos. So then what? He can't prove himself ever to be a kohen? Right? Why can't you use this as an aliya? So fine. So that's it. That was his time. So then Zimnan have a Yasi committed of Yochanan. There was another time. Rashi says Pamacheres, even though that's not usually the way you type Zimnan. Zimnan usually.
Why can't
sometimes.
you use that? His name is Rafi Cohn as a raya.
Oh, because his last name is Cohn.
Yeah.
You have Chiya Cohn.
His name is Rappaport. Okay. So.
Okay, maybe. So I don't know. So maybe that's a Hadus because you have Rabbi Cohn from Shifarakwa. He's not a kohen, right? You got Reb David Cohn Taka. He's not a kohen.
Well, that's why That's why I changed it to Rappaport.
Isn't
Chiya
called a kohen?
What do you say?
I went to yeshiva with the cats, also not kohen.
Yeah, there you go.
Isn't Chiya called a kohen?
What is that? It's Yaakov. Chiya is a kohen.
Chiya Cohn is a kohen. I'm sorry, Chiya Cohn is a kohen. No, he's a kohen, right? No.
He gets aliya, so we switch off me and him.
That's true. You're right. No, what I'm mixing up, he spells it with a K, not a C. That's what I'm mixing it up. He spells the last name with a K.
Yossi Katz is a Levi.
I think Reb David Cohen in Brooklyn is not a Cohen.
Reb David Cohen is not a Cohen, and here's the real joke. He named his son Levi, so he has a son named Amram Levi Cohen, and he's a Yisrael, right?
I had a cousin who was Yisrael Cohen Levi.
It could have been worse. He could have named him Yisrael Levi. Yisrael Levi.
Right.
Right, that's true. True.
Yankel Tawil has the Shtar Yuchsin.
Right, yeah, supposedly.
And so does Misha Rappaport.
He's really using it very well.
Rabari, not nice.
Well, let him use it. Let him use it already.
You have a shidduch for him.
Yeah. I don't know. Anyways, Abrami, what were you saying? Okay. Nothing? Okay, fine. So anyways, we continue with the story. So Zimnan Havayasi, guys. Thank you. Zimnan Havayasi Kameder of Yochanan. So another time they were sitting in front of Rabbi Yochanan. Also Kihai Maisela Kamei. And another story came like that somebody came in and said, I knew this guy's father from the Haim and he got kohen. Amalei Rish Lakish. And Rish Lakish said to him, did you see him getting the food by the Gairin? Amalei Rabbi Yochanan, Bimain Shom Gairin Batla Kahuna. So Rabbi Yochanan said, if there's no Gairin there, the Kahuna's Batal. Hadar Chazil Rebbe Elezar Bishus. So Rish Lakish went and looked at Rebbe Elazar. Sorry, not Rebbe Elazar. Rebbe Elazar Bishus, meaning with like bushes. He was upset. Omar Shamas Mili the Bar Nafcha. You heard something from Bar Nafcha. Who is Rabbi Yochanan? And you're not saying Mishmei, meaning Rabbi Yochanan was the first person to have this tiny. And why did he say it over in his name? Why did he just say it in his own thing? Like, oh, is there no way? If a guy doesn't have he's not a farmer, there's no way to prove that he's a kohen. Yeah. So that's what he's saying. He didn't say it over shame Aimda. Yeah. So that was his title. Which is an interesting thing. I don't know. My mama thought about it today. I don't know what the shot of this. The Shulchan Aruch. Can you hear me, or are these kids making too much noise? I got the first time. Okay, guys, do you mind? I'm giving a shit. Can you just go off the porch? Who's the he? Guys, off the porch. Thank you. Yeah, sorry about that. But anyways, the Shulchan Aruch quotes. The Shulchan Aruch, whenever he uses terminology, is not himself. He always quotes one of the Rishonim, but he doesn't say it b'shmai. Right? He doesn't say the Rambam says this. He doesn't say the
Beis
what? He does it Beis Yosef, but he doesn't do it in the Shulchan Aruch.
I don't know if the Shulchan Aruch is just halach l'maisa. It's not saying over. It's the
no,
maisa.
But when you read the Shulchan Aruch, you think it's his. When I first learned Shulchan Aruch, I thought it was his own terminology. It's not most of the time. Most of the time, it's taken straight from the Rishonim. Unless it's a default that's what he means, meaning he doesn't have a havamina that you think that it's somebody else. Maybe. Okay, whatever it is. It was just the thought. Fine. Then we continue. Rebbi Rebbi Chiya, Chad Hela ben Alpi Aviv LeKahuna. One of them said that the son he made a kohen, which was on the father's word. The father said, I'm a kohen. So Amele believed him, and he said the kid's a kohen. But Chad Hela Ach Alpi Achiv LeLevia. And one of them made the brother into a levi based on what the brother said. Like he said, I'm a levi, so he's a levi, right? So, but the bottom line is we don't know who said what. Meaning, there was a story of Rebbi and Chiya. One of them mattered a son based on the father, and one of them as a kohen, and one mattered a brother based on his brother as a levi. But we don't know who said what. So this time the Rebbi Hela Ben Alpi Aviv LeKahuna. Let's say that it was Rebbi that said that the son is a kohen based on his father. The Tanya Resha B'Amar B'Niz V'Kohen, who somebody comes and says, "This is my son and he's a kohen." Neman la'achila b'truma. It's neman for him to eat truma. But he's not believed to marry a woman on this, like we said before, because maybe he's meaning for Yuchsin, we don't trust it, because maybe he's a mamzer or a nasid. Like, why you think that? I don't know. Divrei Rebbi. So I'm a little Chiya. If you believe him to give him truma, then you should believe him to marry a woman. If you don't believe him to get married to a woman, don't believe him to eat truma. He says, I believe him that he could give to give the kid truma because it's in his it's in his hand to give him truma, meaning he's a kohen and everybody gives him truma, so he can go give the truma to his kid. But I don't believe him to be married off to a woman. He doesn't have the koyach, right? He doesn't have the koyach to marry him off to a woman, meaning this kid is in his house, so he has truma, he can feed it to his kid. That's fine, but he he cannot just say, "Oh, my kid has yichus, let him go marry somebody else." That he can't do. Fine. So to stay him. So therefore, that's the way it is. It must be that Rebbe's the one that said it. And with the Rebbe hella ben api aviv lekuna, and this that Rebbe was the one that said the son is a kosher kohen. Reb Chiya hella ach api achav levi. So Reb Chiya says the brother is a levi based on his brother's testimony. So when it says Reb Chiya, Maishna ben Deloy, how come a son? You cannot. He's not makabel the edus, the karav who eats alav, because the son is a karav to his father. Ach nami karav who eats alav. The brother is also a karav to his brother. Or it says the masiach lefi tumah. It's talking about where he didn't say edus. Right? We had this before with the guy. It's talking about where the son just said over a story. He was just telling over stories, and from that story, it came out that he was a lady, right? There was a story with a guy who was Masir Levi Tumai. I remember when I was a kid, and I was on my father's shoulders, and he took me out of school, right? Meaning, what does it mean he has to take him out of school? So Toysa says, because if maybe he was an Eved, Rabbanan, like you were saying before. Who says maybe he's an Eved? Because an Eved also could eat based on the Tahara of the Kohen. So no, Eved wouldn't be going to school, right? No comments about my kids, okay? Right? And he would take him out of school, and he would take off my jacket or shirt or whatever it was, and he would toivel me to eat truma that night. Rav Chiya and Rav Chiya finished off by saying, and his friends were separated from me. I see Yochanan oichel chalas. This is Yochanan who eats chalas. Rebbi lekuna al piv, and Rebbi said he's a kohen al piv. Why? Now this is not edus, right? This is not edus. This is just a story he said over when I left school. So they gave me these things. Right? They made me go to the mikvah, become tar. So based on Masiach Lefi Tumai, it's not really an edus. So therefore, he trusted it. So only when the edus is Masiach Lefi Tumai did he what do you call it? Did he trust it? And why do you have to go to the mikvah? Why would you think the kid is tummy? So Rashi says because the stam tinoik is hanging out in the garbage dumps, and he's got shrutzim, and he's dealing with shrutzim and all that. So this assumption is that a kid is tummy from all these things. So the bottom line is that we're saying that if it's Masir Levi Tumah, therefore he will be believed. Okay, fine. Have yourselves a fun. Tomorrow night I have a great nephew's bar mitzvah in Lakewood. I'm assuming the daf to be around the regular time, but I might have to do it a little later, depending if I get stuck by a drasha or something like that. All right.
And what about the rest of the week after that?
We should do 8:35. I wanted to try to time it right after Olam gets back from their Ma'ariv, so they don't have a break and get this. You know what I mean? That's the kavanah. No.
Okay.
All right.
All right. So that works.
Oh yeah.
It's Yaakov.
Yes, sir.
When I was learning this stuff by Reb Asher in Mir, so we had a sewage backup on my street. Where my
sewage
was.
backup
On the street where my dira was, right outside my dira. There was raw sewage running down the street. And all the Yerushalmi kids were playing in it. The local Mir Sharm kids.
I'm not hearing so clear. Yeah.
Yerushalmi kids were playing in the jumping in the stream of sewage that was running down the street.
Serious?
The Rashi brought a riot to this Rashi from what was going on. Stam Tinoikus playing the Ashpa.
That's funny.
Yeah.
That's good. Okay, but that's not gonna make him tummy though.
No, but it's still, you see what they do. Kids just, hasn't changed since the days of the Gemara.
Interesting.
Yeah.
That's very good. Yeah. Anyways, I hear you. All right. Fine.
Wow, I'm surprised I still remember anything from Rav Asher's days.
Listen, that you got up to this far is already Kedai story.
What do you mean?
I'm saying up to Daf Chafei.
Yeah. That's Rav Asher. That's the Mir. He's the only one in the Mir that still does it, I think. Moves.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Even though he's been slowing up also, I think.
Really?
I don't know. I heard, no, I mean, even those, the old days, I heard he did more than that.
Yeah. The old days, really. Baruch moved also.
No, that's true. Not as fast.
Yeah.
Not as fast.
Right. Not as fast, but he moved, yeah. They tried to finish Yavamas in the winters, man. Ksubas, Yavamas.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Anyways. All right.
All right, Yashikayach.
Okay, Zagazin.
Have a good night.